told me he'd spent 40 years working at the same company, and when I asked him how things were going, he said, "Jim, I just can't seem to get ahead. The economy's bad, my boss doesn't appreciate me, and I just don't get the breaks other people get." And I looked at him and I thought to myself, here's a man who spent 4 decades blaming everything and everyone except the one person who could actually change his situation, himself. Let me tell you something that changed my life when I finally understood it. Most people spend more time planning their 2-week vacation than they spend planning their life. Think about that for a moment. They'll spend hours researching hotels, comparing prices, mapping out every detail of their trip. But when it comes to their own future, their own potential, their own success, they just kind of hope it all works out. They leave the most important journey of their life to chance, to luck, to circumstances, and then they wonder why they end up wherever the wind blows them. Here's what I've learned after all these years. Life doesn't respond to need. Life responds to deserve. And here's the harsh truth that nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to understand. Your current results are a perfect reflection of your current philosophy. Not your hopes, not your wishes, not what you think you deserve, but your actual daily philosophy. The way you think, the choices you make, the habits you've developed over time. Everything you are today is a result of everything you've been doing up until this point. Now, that might make you uncomfortable. Good. Being uncomfortable is the first step toward change. See, you can't change the past. That's behind you. What's done is done. But here's the exciting part. You can change the future. You can change it starting right now, today, this very moment. But first, you got to be honest about where you are and how you got here. The truth is, most people are paying the price of neglect rather than the price of discipline. Let me explain what I mean. Neglect is easy. Neglect doesn't require much effort at all. You can neglect your health by eating whatever you want, never exercising, treating your body like it's going to last forever without any maintenance. You can neglect your finances by spending everything you make, never saving, never investing, never learning about money. You can neglect your mind by never reading, never studying, never growing beyond what you learned in school 20 or 30 years ago. Neglect is simple, it's comfortable, and it's killing your potential. But here's what they don't tell you about neglect. It has a price too. And that price comes due later, with interest. The price of neglect is a life of regret, a life of "I wish I would have," a life of watching other people succeed while you're stuck wondering what happened to your dreams. The price of discipline, on the other hand, weighs ounces. The price of regret weighs tons. I remember when I started to really understand this principle. I was in my 20s, broke, frustrated, going nowhere fast. And I realized something profound. I realized that I was spending more money maintaining my car than I was investing in my mind. I'd take my car in for regular oil changes, I'd make sure the tires were good, I'd keep it clean and running smoothly. But my mind, my own personal development, I was giving that nothing. 0 investment. And then I had the audacity to wonder why my life wasn't going anywhere. See, your mind is like a garden. If you plant good seeds and you water them and you tend to them every single day, you're going to get a harvest of good things. But if you neglect that garden, if you just let it sit there and hope for the best, you know what's going to grow? Weeds. Lots and lots of weeds. And those weeds will choke out any good thing that tries to grow there. Negative thinking, self-doubt, excuses, blame, and doubt. Those are the weeds that grow in a neglected mind. Let me tell you about the cost of drift. Drift is when you're not really going anywhere on purpose. You're just kind of floating along, letting life happen to you instead of making life happen for you. And the scary thing about drift is that it's subtle. You don't wake up one day and suddenly your life is off track. No, it happens slowly, one small compromise at a time, one little excuse here, one rationalization there. You skip working out just this once because you're tired. You don't read that book because you want to watch television instead. You don't save money this month because there's something you really want to buy. And each one of these decisions by itself doesn't seem like a big deal. But here's what I've learned. The things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. And that's the key to both success and failure right there. The things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. You know the most dangerous word in personal development? Someday. Someday I'll start eating better. Someday I'll start saving money. Someday I'll read those books. Someday I'll work on my skills. Someday I'll spend more time with my family. Someday I'll start my business. Someday I'll chase my dreams. Let me tell you what someday really means. Never. Someday is the graveyard where dreams go to die. Here's an exercise I want you to do right now. I want you to think about your current habits. Not the habits you wish you had, not the habits you're going to start next Monday, but your actual current habits. What do you do every day? How do you spend your time? What do you eat? How much do you read? How much television do you watch? Who do you spend your time with? How do you handle money? Now, project those habits forward. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, where are you going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? And be brutally honest with yourself. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make excuses. Just look at the trajectory. You're on, and ask yourself, is this taking me where I want to go? For most people, the answer is no. And that's a hard thing to face. But you know what's even harder? Waking up at 65 years old and realizing that you wasted your potential. That you had gifts, talents, abilities that you never developed because you were too comfortable, too lazy, too afraid, or too distracted. I call it comfortable poverty. And I'm not just talking about financial poverty, though that's part of it. I'm talking about poverty of ambition, poverty of effort, poverty of growth. It's when you settle for less than you're capable of. Because what you have right now isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. You can survive on it. You can get by. And so you stop pushing, you stop growing, you stop trying to become more than you are. But here's what I want you to understand. You weren't put on this earth to just get by. You weren't given talents and abilities and potential just to waste them. You're capable of so much more than you're currently doing. The question is, are you willing to pay the price to develop that potential? Are you willing to be uncomfortable for a while? Are you willing to invest in yourself? Because that's what this is all about. It's about making the decision that you're worth investing in, that your future is worth fighting for, that your potential is worth developing. And once you make that decision, really make it, everything changes. But you've got to start by being honest about where you are right now and accepting responsibility for it. Nobody else is responsible for where you are. Not your parents, not your teachers, not your boss, not the government, not the economy. You. Your life is your responsibility. And that's actually good news, because if you're responsible for where you are, that means you have the power to change it. You're not a victim. You're not helpless. You're not stuck. You're just at a crossroads, and you get to decide which direction you're going to go from here. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep drifting, hoping things will magically get better? Or are you going to take control, invest in yourself, and create the future you actually want? The choice is yours. It's always been yours. And the time to make that choice is right now. Now, let me tell you about a conversation that changed the way I thought about everything. I was giving a seminar years ago, and a young man came up to me during the break. He looked frustrated, tired, like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He said, "Jim, I need to make more money. I've got bills to pay, a family to support, and I'm working as hard as I can, but I'm just not getting ahead. What should I do?" And I looked at him and I said something that surprised him. I said, "Work harder on yourself than you do on your job." He just stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. So I explained it to him. I said, "See, if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune." Here's the fundamental truth that most people never learn. You can't earn more than you learn. Your income will rarely exceed your personal development. Why? Because you're not being paid for your time. You're being paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. And if you want to increase your value, you've got to invest in yourself. You've got to become more knowledgeable, more skilled, more disciplined, more valuable. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Let me say that again because it's so important. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Now, I'm not against formal education. I think it's valuable, it's important, it gives you a foundation. But what you learned in school 10, 20, 30 years ago isn't enough to take you where you want to go. The world has changed. Industries have changed. Technology has changed. And if you haven't changed with it, if you haven't kept learning and growing, you're falling behind. You know what I love about personal development? You don't have to change everything. You just have to change yourself. You don't have to change the economy. You don't have to change your circumstances. You don't have to change other people. You just have to change you. And when you change, everything changes for you. That's the miracle of it. When you get better, life gets better. Not because life changes, but because you've changed. See, you're not just a human being, you're a human becoming. You're constantly in the process of becoming something. The question is, what are you becoming? Are you becoming more capable, more skilled, more valuable? Or are you becoming more bitter, more stuck, more resigned to mediocrity? Every single day, you're moving in one direction or the other. There's no standing still. You're either growing or you're dying. So let's talk about the 3 areas where you need to invest in yourself. First, and most important, is your mind. Your mind is your most valuable asset. It's where everything starts. Every achievement, every success, every bit of wealth you'll ever accumulate starts with a thought in your mind. So why wouldn't you invest heavily in making your mind as sharp, as knowledgeable, as wise as possible? I read books that made me wealthy, not just books that made me smart. There's a difference. I wasn't reading just to collect information. I was reading to transform my thinking, to learn from people who had accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, to develop a philosophy that would serve me instead of sabotage me. Let me tell you a story that shows you how serious I am about this. When I was in my 20s, barely scraping by, I heard about a seminar that cost $1,000. Now, at that time, I only had $1,200 to my name. That $1,000 seminar would take almost everything I had. My friends thought I was crazy. They said, "Jim, you can't afford that. You need that money for rent, for food, for bills." But I went anyway. You know why? Because I couldn't afford not to go. I understood something they didn't. I understood that the information, the insights, the connections I would make at that seminar were worth far more than the money I was spending. I was investing in my future self. I was buying knowledge that could potentially change my entire life. And you know what? It did. That one seminar, that one investment in myself, opened doors I didn't even know existed. The second area you need to invest in is your skills. You've got to become more valuable in the marketplace. Whatever you do for a living, you need to become exceptional at it. Not just good, not just adequate, but exceptional. And then you need to add more skills. Learn to communicate better. Learn to sell. Learn to lead. Learn to manage money. Learn to manage your time. Every new skill you acquire makes you more valuable, more irreplaceable, more worthy of higher compensation. They think, well, I already know how to do my job. I've been doing it for years. But knowing how to do something and being exceptional at it are 2 completely different things. And in today's world, average doesn't cut it anymore. Average is broke. Average is struggling. You've got to be better than average, and that requires
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can you guys hear me? Uh, all right, there's a little bit of technology glitch, but I'll go ahead and jump on and we'll get going from there. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Everything was set, but I will, technology stuff. So just bear with me for a moment. We are coming up now. So I am pulling up the presentation. And if you can hear me, put it in the chat and say we can hear you, no stopping us. So if you can hear me, you should be able to see the screen coming up. All right, all right. Unfortunately, you will not be able to see my video because my laptop can't get I, I can't enable my camera right now. So I want to say thank you for hanging in there with me. So real quick, Um, I am doing the presentation live now instead of a pre-recorded one. So we're still gonna have a good time. I'll still go ahead and I'll send a pre-recorded video to you so that way we could uh we could get going. So again, there's a glitch, but we'll get going. All right. So what is the point? What's the point of trying to destroy our mortgage? What's the whole point? Before we get into that, I have a disclaimer. Please, please, this is for informational purpose. Just take it for information, do further research, consult your lender before you make any decision. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for putting that in the comments. Yes, there is no stopping us. There's always issues, but we'll get going. So please and please, this is not any way, shape, or form having any sort of client or professional agreement. It's just information. You could ask me question later, but all those questions will also be answered within a certain limitation. So, what's the point? What's the point, and why should we get out of our mortgages? So again, I will try to share screen, but I will also will be conscious of the fact that I don't have all of my resources. You guys will get a video on YouTube. So, number one, solve for peace. Solve for peace, ladies and gentlemen. What do I mean by that? What I'm saying is, I would love to sit in my house one day and I know that I paid for this house 100%. I'm not owing anybody on this house. The only thing that I'm owing is the taxes. The only person that I'm owing is Uncle Sam, the big guy. And that's not the end of the world because, depending on where you live, the taxes is, when you get to a certain level, you shouldn't have a problem with your taxes. And the other thing is to preserve your cash. This will not make sense until I do a demo. So I'm going to do a demo for us. Um, Preserving your cash pretty much means the money that you pay, the money you pay on your interest can go in your bank account, and it could be huge money if you look at interest for over 20 years, over 30 years. And I'm using North America, quote unquote, scenario. I know I have people from the UK, but it is applicable everywhere. Interest rate is interest rate. It goes up as long as you hold them that money. The other thing is, the more money you have in your bank account, the more opportunity, the more you can look at other investment opportunity. So, for example, you have $200,000 saved in your account. You can decide to go buy a barber shop. You can decide to start a coffee shop down the street from you because you have the money, right? And also, when you have a paid off home, that money that should be going to your bank, it stays in your account now. In your account, you can choose to retire early or have a partial retirement. What does that look like? It depends on what your retirement looks like for you. But for me, what I consider partial retirement is a situation whereby I can show up to work for like 10 hours every week. The remaining hours, I'm doing something good, maybe volunteering, playing golf, or whatever it is, whatever retirement looks like to you. But you can have a full retirement or a partial retirement. All right. What are the strategies that we are talking about today? And again, everybody has the opportunity to do these things. Really, as long as you have a mortgage, you can definitely refinance. Uh, Again, consult with your lender because some of them might have different things or policies. But the key thing about refinancing, and I call myself a refinance king. Uh, during COVID, I think I refinanced to about three times. I refinanced about three times to the point that I got 2%. The whole point of refinancing is, hey, I have this loan. I have some money saved up. I want to throw it at a loan. Your bank is gonna be like, okay, this is the current market rate. And by the way, you should know, I wouldn't recommend you refinance if the current market uh rate is higher than what you have, except you have different, circumstance that you want to refinance. But in my own situation, if we're talking about trying to pay off your mortgage as soon as possible, once the rate is lower, get in there. Put some money. It doesn't have to be 10,000. It doesn't have to be 20,000 that you're putting down. It could be literally be $3,000. It could literally be like 4,000, $5,000. Say, hey, banker, this is what I have. I want to refinance. They will do the recalculation. It might make your monthly payment go up. In some cases, it make your payment go up, especially if you're trying to cut down the number of years that you have left on your loan. So that's an option. And the other thing is you can increase your monthly payment. And again, I'll show you with one of our clients' accounts. Now, not clients, one of the demo accounts, I guess. Uh, you can increase your monthly payment. You can increase it by 20, $30, and you can see that it would go some ways. It could be long, it could be short, depending on some ways look like for you. What I mean by that is if you had 10 or $20 to your monthly payment, you can save 3 months on your mortgage. Imagine if you get to the point whereby you put on $400, $300, right? I know the economy is crazy right now, and somebody's probably asking, where am I going to get $400 from? Again, that's going to be in another session. You could always, if you had a debt, if you have, one or two investment, maybe some money from high yield savings, things like that, you can throw it at the mortgage, just so it can go away as soon as possible. And I like to use the word go away or destroy because it puts me in this attacking mindset of I'm not gonna let this thing linger around for 25 years, for 30 years. No, I'm ready to destroy this thing. Now the last one is make occasional lump sum. Sometimes a lot of people get tax returns back, and some people get huge money back, right? Uh, you could throw that money in your mortgage. You say, hey, banker, I want to do this amount on my mortgage. However, with your monthly increment and the lump sum, make sure they put that money towards the principal. So that way it just kills what you need to kill. You're not looking to get out of your mortgage, but you're shooting the wrong thing. And again, I'll show us that, or we can talk more about that if you reach out to me. So let's go to the next slide, y'all. It should be the demo. Yes. So give me a second. Let me set up. Again, I apologize for this. I am doing this right off the fly, but again, it's going to be good. We're going to get the information. There is no stopping us. So just bear with me. I'm setting up, and I will also let's do calculator so we can see what things look like if we don't pay off our mortgage, if we wait 30 years or 20 years to pay up the mortgage. So, all right. All right, you can use this time to drop your question in the chat if you have any. If we don't have time to get to them by during within the next 10-15 minutes, I'll definitely will provide answer or provide the resource that's gonna get you what you need. All right. I am sharing my screen in a second, just making sure we are getting all the PIIs out. All right. All right. Screen sharing is coming up to you right now. Let's do share. All right. There we go. There we go. We should be seeing the calculator. It should say calculator, calculator.net. All right. Let me know if you can see it in the chat or something so we can get going. All right. So, good deal. So, here's what we got. This is a public calculator that everybody can pull up. Everybody can pull it up. Let's change this number to 435 because that's the median house in the state of Tennessee, US, recently. So we have, let's say you have 20, you're putting 20% down. We're going to run this scenario just like real time, what we want the best scenario to be. You want to own that's $435,000. You want to do 20%. Then almost everybody is get offered 30 years. Okay, so we leave it at 30. The interest rate is 6.75, which is going up. It's going up and down in the last couple of weeks. All right, more of going up. So we got 6.71. Now let's exclude the taxes. This is why I say you should consult with your financial advisor, your lender, because they will include all of these so that you have a better financial picture of what you can handle. Okay, so let's do a calculator. You're doing 30 years, 20% down, 435. So your loan amount is 348. That's what you're borrowing from the bank. Check this out. After 30 years, the total that you've paid on interest is 461. 461, people. 461. The total that you've paid on your mortgage is 809 this and that. But now somebody's gonna be like, oh, does it even make sense to own a home? Does it even make sense to get a mortgage? I tell you what, it still makes a lot of sense. Because if you don't do this, stick with it. If you don't get into home ownership, rent is gonna keep going up, just like interest rate is fluctuating, right? Rent keeps going up. There's nothing like fluctuation, except you live in a bad area, an area that just keeps going down the line, down the hill, right? But after 20, 30 years that you've paid off your mortgage, you own that property. So a lot of people are getting into the idea of, oh, I am going to I'm going to rent because mortgage is expensive, home ownership is this and that. Nah, you're still going to be on the better side. Okay. So let's move quickly here. For this person's scenario, um, on the left side, you can see that we have $10 preset by their bank, by their mortgage, excuse me. So if this person decides to increase their monthly payment by $10, they will save 3 months. Now, 3 months is not a lot, but hey, it's something to some people, right? But check this out: you're saving yourself 3,224 in interest rates. Yeah, some people say it's not a lot, but just imagine you decide and say, you know what, I'm gonna cancel some subscription. I have 7 subscription in my household. I have this and that. I can carve out, maybe, let's be realistic. Maybe on average, people can account for $70 in their budget on average. So let's put it at 70. Let's say you get tight with your budget. You want to put $70 on your monthly payment. You are saving 1 year, about 1 year and a half. And interest is what I like to see. You're saving about $21,000 in interest. That's how many hours that you got to show up at your job. How many hours that you got to put into something that's giving you money right now. But just imagine how if we can tighten things up, what we can get, right? Some people be like, you know what? I got out of debt. I'm not paying interest rate on consumer debt. I don't have car payments anymore. I'm gonna increase that bad boy to, let's say, just $200. Let's say, yeah, let's leave it at 205. Look at how much you have saved. You saved about 3.5, about 4 years, or let's say 3.5, and $50,000. That's huge for me. I don't know about you. So let's shift to the other side. The other side, which is right in the middle. It says pay a lump sum. Again, a lot of mortgage platform, they have this. If your mortgage don't have it, just give them a call. They will expose you to whatever opportunities they have. But for the lump sum, you should always be able to make lump sum. Let's say you get tax return back. A lot of Americans get, approximately eight to 15,000 for middle class person. Now, let's say you get $5,000 back. Easy stuff, right? $5,000 back, you throw it into the mortgage, it saves you 8 months. And guess what? You also save 14,000 in interest rates. Just imagine this person's monthly payments should be at the minimum about 25. I know the number, but I can't remember the exact number to be honest. I think it's just shy of $3,000, below $3,000. So let's say 2,700. Or let's make it a fair number, 2,500. 2,500 multiplied by 8 will give us, that should be, somebody probably knows the result already. I don't do math so well on Saturday, but $20,000. So imagine you put $5,000 down and you save yourself, you save yourself $14,000, right? But for you to save for 8 months of mortgage, 8 months of mortgage on this person is $20,000. But you buy in 8 months for $5,000. It's a numbers play, y'all. It's a numbers play. We have to keep thinking like that so we can destroy this mortgage of a thing. Okay. So now that I'm done screen, I'm gonna go back to the slide. Get going with this. So again, these resources will be provided to you. If you have any question, just send them to me via email, and we will crush it. All right. So all of these things that I just shared, it might not be a lot to you. It might be a lot to some people, right? What are you gonna take from all of these things? What is the next course of action? I tell you what, the next course of action is doable. It might not be easy for you. You probably don't have extra $70 right now. And I get it. You probably don't have extra, $400 right now. But keep in mind that, excuse me, if you want to see your mortgage destroyed, you gotta do something. We gotta be disciplined. We gotta get out of that debt. That debt that you probably holding on to, one to kind of cover up some places that you probably don't need to be. But if you're using debt to cover up your daily living, I understand. But if you're using debt to cover up things that you can literally cover up without getting into debt, review that and think about that big number that I showed you earlier. I just switched back to my screen. The total interest, if you keep your mortgage for 30 years, is $461,000. But your loan amount, what you originally loan requested, or what you got was $358,000. But you are paying $461,000 back. Come on. That's a lot of money that you just don't want to give away, especially if you can, cover up some places, right? So let's get right with our budgeting. I'm struggling with this one. I see a question there. I get to it right now. I'm struggling with the budgeting right now myself. Get with people. There's a lot of free resources out there. I can send you some. I follow one guy in the state of Tennessee. I'm not, I will let you go do your research. I don't want to just say, just because of liability purposes. But $20 and save that 3 or 4 months, right? Depending on your loan amount. So the other parties buy what you can afford today, not what you can potentially afford. You know, I'm licensed in the state of Tennessee, and I worked with different kind of people. And I will say this, I tell my people this right from the bat. If you want to buy $1 million house, hey, it's good for me, right? But if you if you cannot afford 1 million, I will directly or indirectly say, hey, let's kind of be mindful of this, right? In the confinement of the law. So um don't buy more than what you can afford. I'll give you a perfect example, and I'll use myself. I closed on a property, and just 2 months after I closed on the property, I lost my job, yo. So what that means is, and this job that I lost was the highest money I've ever made. Like, so I had based my life based on kind of based my purchase and other lifestyle things, all those giving, all those things that you should be doing. I based everything under that big boy pay that I was making. Then 2 months after I closed, they were like, you know what? We like you, but we just want to go down. We want to downgrade. I'm like, I get it. You want somebody else that will you will pay 40% less, and I get it. So, and I have to deal with the purchase that I have. I have to deal with my budget. It was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So let's, buy what we can potentially, what we can afford today. No, we can buy, not potentially, right? I'm not going to say, hey, in the next 3 months, I should be a vice president. At that point, I should be making $900,000. Oh, so by then I'll be able to pay it off. No, use your current situation, leave room for other things so you don't run into debt. So that's that on that. And I hope I didn't take too much time trying to explain that. I've got the resources here, so let's go back to um, the question. Okay, is lump sum payment same as recasting? We'll tell you no, but I will also will advise that you consult your your lender, because I'm not 100% sure on that. Honestly, I'll just be honest. Um, so, because I do think recasting, I don't want to give answer off the fly. I know I answered this question. I know the person who asked this question, so I know we answered this kind of partially recently. But no, lump sum, you just throw it at it. They are not changing any interest rates. They are not rerunning any number. Uh, Let me see. So yeah, I don't want to give you an answer off the fly, but I know I kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. So, but does anyone have any other question that I can answer right off the fly? All right, I'm coming up against time. I want to say thank you guys for your participation. We started off with a glitch, but we got everything squared away. I'm sorry you can't see my video because I cannot turn on the video on my camera. But again, if you guys have any question, please and please reach out via email. I will send the video out so you guys can see what's in the video. One of the things that I mentioned in the video is if you're looking to purchase in the state of Texas, in the state of Tennessee, and yes, soon in the state of Kentucky, reach out to us. Reach out. We have people in those states that will get you from point A to the very last points that you need, including making sure we're not buying and not thinking about our peace of mind. Remember, I started off with peace of mind. We want to solve for peace. We don't want to overwhelm. I don't want to see you buy a property and you're struggling. No, I don't want to see that. I don't want you to give away over $120,000 in interest rates, right? Just reach out to us. We have partners that can answer these questions, the ones that we cannot answer. But yeah, and I will also say this, that there is also a similar event coming up for those that are in the state of Tennessee on October 1st. Uh, it will be in person if you choose to. If you want to be there in person, you can also join virtually. But this is going to cover more in-depth stuff. I'm a realtor, lender. I'm not the money guy, but you will get a chance to talk to the money guy in that event. Again, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and God bless you.